Our next speaker is Mr. Olav Revheim, Chief Executive Officer from Exebenus. Olav has led Exebenus since 2014 and has set the vision and strategy for the company's product portfolio. He has had many different roles and positions in his career, giving him a unique and broad knowledge base throughout the entire value chain from exploration to production. With his experience in technology and international service companies onshore and offshore in Norway and around the world, he has a particular focus on securing and carrying out drilling and well operations to reduce downtime and increase efficiency. Olav, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ghazal. Thank you to the people listening to this. I thought I'd structure these 15 minutes in just giving a few minutes introduction on what we have done in Exebenus to be part of this panel, why I'm here. Then move on and spend a few minutes as well on why we think it's interesting to work with geothermal drilling, and also hopefully why our technology would be interesting for the geothermal drilling environment. Finally, I'll try to wrap up with some of the boxes that we need to tick, maybe a few challenges that we see ahead in implementing artificial intelligence in the geothermal industry. The background, I believe, for why I was invited to be here is that Exebenus has, over the last 5 to 6 years, developed a drilling optimization set of machine learning and artificial algorithms that has been run for 4.5 years in live operations in Asia, Africa, Middle East, Europe, North and South America, and in a number of different wells. So what we've been able to do with the good help of the data scientists and drilling engineers in a team is to build a drilling optimization and stuck pipe prediction product range that can generalize across different fields, regions, wells, formations, etc., without additional training. We have continuously improved our products since the first launch in the spring of 2019. As an example, I can say that when we initially launched the stuck pipe predictive agents, as we call them, we had a false positive rate just below 5%, which now 5 years or almost 5 years later is in the range of 0.0 something percent. And we find that this is not only to do with artificial intelligence, but also the software wrapping around the artificial intelligence models. What we do and what we have done is that we consume the real-time drilling data from the rigs, either time-based or depth-based, and we do a lot of different, we select the data we want to pick with a thought behind. We pick the data that we think is needed for the various purposes that we do. We have built into the software a rig state or activity recognition module that would allow us to tailor and customize training for a machine learning model for a specific activity. Tripping has a different data set and a different behavior, and anomalies looks different than it does during drilling or reaming or circulation. That is taken account for by recognizing these activities and triggering specific agents or models based on the actual activity. And what we further do is that we pre-process the data, sometimes rule-based and sometimes a little bit more advanced, before we actually feed specific data, specific pre-processed data into the machine learning models. In the drilling optimization and stack pipe prediction, we have plus minus 25 separate machine learning models embedded into this optimization product. After we've the machine learning model has done their magic, as I call it, we post-process, we evaluate based on the predicted models the risk for stuck pipe. We have separate algorithms, some of them quite advanced, that suppress certain combinations of data that are created by normal anomalies in the data, so that we filter away those false positives before we send these data back into the rig. So all of this allows us to very rapidly develop new models, develop new concepts for new purposes within the existing framework of receiving, recognizing data, filtering data, process data, do the modeling, analyze the results, and feed the results back in a very, very simplistic form to the rig people. Do I need to increase my weight on bit? Do I need to reduce my RPM? Or is the RP now at a such state that we risk hull cleaning problems? So these very simple, what do I need to do kind of messages goes back to the rig team. So from our analysis and what we've done, looked at for geothermal drilling, we see this 7% lost circulation that Salah and his colleagues have presented as our key justification to look into geothermal drilling. These 7%, if we compare that with the forecast presented by XGS Energy, will correspond to potentially $280 million per year in a 5-year time, and it will be quite substantial also now. This for us is a justification to go into the market, and I would presume that is approximately $350,000 per well cost in lost circulation on average, based on the data from Salah and XGS Energy, would make artificial intelligence interesting also for the geothermal drilling industry. And these calculations, they do not take into account the stuck pipe that often is associated with fractures in formation and bits and pieces falling out. It does not take into account optimizing drilling parameter in real time. So we do believe that the models that we have, the concepts that we have, and the architecture that we have will provide value to the geothermal drilling industry and to ourselves as well, which are the sort of justification for me being here, and both for you and also for myself and our company. But it's not necessarily straightforward, because drilling in volcanic rock, in basalts mostly, is very different from drilling in sandstones and clays, as the drilling audience will know. Also, our understanding is that the lost circulation to a large degree is caused by open faults, brittle faults that is occurred shallow in the rock. So it's either no lost circulation or a lot of lost circulation, and this is of course not something that you normally would see in the conventional oil and gas drilling. The data that we have found and what we have been exposed to, the most similar situation would be in the foothills of Himalaya and Andes, where you have active seismic areas, where you have these shallow brittle faults as well as you would see in the basalts associated with the volcanic rocks. That is the most common rock for geothermal drilling in our understanding. So we've already started to look into these type of rocks, these type of scenarios. We find that quite often close to these faults there are some minor fracturing, there are some hydrothermal alteration, there are some other scenarios that or indications that we might hit one of these open faults. So we've started training our model of these kind of rocks. We are also involved with carbon capture mineralization in peridotite. And from a drilling perspective, basalts, and also from a geochemical perspective, basalts and peridotites are not that different. So we believe also that the training that we get from drilling in these kind of hard rocks will benefit us. So as we speak now, our data science team is actively trying to use the drilling parameters to predict what is at the bit and just ahead of the bit, and we believe that would be of benefit for for assessing the risk for having open faults. This comes in addition to the stuck pipe and the RP optimization and those other things that we do. Another challenge that we see, and we've seen that with oil and gas drilling as well in remote area and with low cost rigs, which we see is also used in geothermal, is the system for data acquisition. That's the only prerequisite that data-driven models have is the need to be fed with data at a constant rate. What we see quite often is that the big players in oil and gas, like the big national oil companies, like the multinationals and some of the companies drilling expensive offshore wells, they have good solid system for data acquisition from the rig to a central server that allows us to do a cloud solution. This is not the case normally in low-cost remote areas where you actually need to deploy the systems on the rig. And doing that, quite often you need associated services, so you need an extra couple of hands on the rig as well, which drives cost and it takes profit away from the software that we would provide. So that's one of the things that we see as a challenge in many of these areas. And of course, the value of the market. The latest figures we found is that the oil and gas market is in the $67 billion per year, which has a lot bigger financial muscles than is much bigger in the oil and gas industry, as you all know. But with the architecture that we have in place and the systems that we are working on for carbon capture mineralization as well, we do believe that with quite minimal, one or two wells of cost of lost circulation alone, we will be able to tailor the models and the concepts we have for geothermal drilling. And this is, hopefully something that will be interesting. And I hope this presentation had spurred some questions as well from the audience.